Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy Josiah back with another video, and today I've received this question quite a few times. I mean, not that much, but I thought I'd do it anyway because I know some of you want to know. And yeah, it's basically just how I edit my Instagram photos. Now, I do like taking pictures, still haven't invested in a camera, but you know, the phone that I have, its camera does enough. And so the pictures that it produces on my Instagram are fairly decent. But, of course, what you need to do is do a little bit of editing, of course. So, I'm going to go and dive deep into what I do use to edit and how I edit my photos for Instagram. So, first of all, the pictures that are taken are mainly done with a OnePlus 7T Pro. Yes, sir, that's it right now. However, sometimes when I am the subject of the pictures, then it may have been taken on my girlfriend or my friend's phone. Girlfriend's phone is an iPhone 12 Pro, and to be honest, that's about it. Nothing below that standard is gonna be taking a picture of me and end up on my gram, I'll let you know. So the app I use is actually Adobe Lightroom. Now, back in the day, ages ago, I used to use Visco, and I thought that was the bee's knees until my friend Shimu introduced me to Adobe Lightroom on mobile. I always thought it was a bit overkill and I wouldn't be able to get the effect that I was looking for, but after using it and learning how to use it, I prefer it over Visco. That being said, I haven't been back onto the Visco wave in a while, so maybe it's better now. But yeah, I use Lightroom. So without further ado, let's jump into it, and I'm gonna show you guys how I do my thing on Lightroom. Alright guys, so let's get into it. So first of all, as you can see, we're in Adobe Lightroom for mobile, and I've just got this Instagram picture which you can actually see I've already uploaded, but this is a fresh import and we're going to do this from scratch. So first things first is to sort out the cropping of the image. So when it comes to cropping and composition of my images, I usually like to use the rule of thirds. So if you guys don't know what the rule of thirds is, basically it involves your image being split up into 9 sections, and what you want is for your most important parts and the key parts of your images to be aligned on the lines that you see in the grid and the intersections. So what I'm going to do here is line up my body with one of the lines, and that should be able to give me a nice composition. Of course, this isn't going to work every single time. There are going to be some times where you will want your image in the center or something like that, but generally speaking, this tends to work for me. Just going to straighten up the image as well now, and as you can see, it just creates a more visually interesting image. You know where the subject matter is, and yeah, it just draws your eyes to those points, and I think it looks pretty cool. Now, it's worth mentioning that I am using the free version of the app, but with the premium version you can actually adjust the geometry of the image, which I think is pretty cool because as you can see, you can easily fix and adjust the perspective of your images. So as you can see with this image here, there's quite a lot of horizontal and vertical lines, so it would be pretty cool to make sure that they all align up and they're all perpendicular to each other. But yeah, we're using the free cheap version out here, so it's okay, we still move on. It's not that deep, and I can't be asked to import the picture into my Lightroom on desktop, so otherwise I could have done it. But yeah, we're talking strictly mobile, so let's get into the lighting. Of course, lighting is one of the most important components when it does come to editing your pictures. Lightroom does offer you an auto feature, but I never really use it. As you can see, here's a before and after of using that, and to be honest, it's not my cup of tea, so I'm going to do it manually. You get me? Put in that hard work myself. This is what I do. So before we touch any of the sliders in terms of exposure, highlights, shadows, I like to jump into curve. We go into curve because I feel like it gives you more initial control over the light and dark points in your image. As you can see, this is quite a dark image, so just showing you how I can bring up the dark points of the image at the most bottom left corner. And pretty much this is going to vary from image to image, but for me, I generally, for my Instagram pictures, like to make them a lot lighter. I just think that's the aesthetic that is running on the page right now, and as you can see, I'm even bringing up the lightest points of the image to make them even a tad lighter. And as you can see, the before and after, I think we've got a nice thing going, but it's not yet done. So what we do with the sliders is just fine tune. So exposure is pretty decent right now, but I'm just gonna add a little bit of exposure, just a tad. You don't want to blow out the whites too much. With the contrast, I tend to actually bring it down so that I can fine tune with the highlights and shadows. And with the highlights slider, you can actually hold down on the black part of the image and you'll be able to see what parts are being blown out. So as you can see, the white in my top is really, really white. So as you can see, it comes up as blue, and I'm just going to bring it down in the initial stages whilst I adjust the shadows, blacks and whites, and then I'll come back to that later and see how it affects the image. Shadows, typically want to make sure that we've got a good amount of shadows in the picture. Of course, I got rid of some of those when I was adjusting the contrast, so we pretty much want to just bring some of that back. Doing the same thing with the white here, because the whites aren't really looking that white, they're looking a little bit grey, so adding a little bit more white. And the blacks are similar to the shadows. I want to make sure that I zoom in and actually look at what is meant to be black in the image and make sure that it is, because like I said before, I did change the contrast. So I want to bring the blacks back into action, and yeah, like I said, just going to adjust the highlights again so that it all looks good before we move on to color. So let me be real with you guys, I find color to be the most fun part of when it comes to editing pictures, because like I said, most of my colors do match my feed, so there isn't always too much to be done because I kind of know the effect of what I want to go into. But if you're starting fresh and you're creating a new aesthetic for your feed, this is kind of where you're going to want to create your palette essentially of what the key colors are going to be across your feed. So for me, the main ones that I need to edit are the oranges and the reds and the yellows, those sort of warm colors essentially. So I'm actually skipping over the red first and going straight into orange, because as you can see in this picture, there are a lot of oranges. So I know that I want to bring the hue of the oranges more to a red tone, and I can do this easily just by adjusting the hue slider into the left direction to make it more red. As for saturation, I want to not really be too generous with this. I'm going to have to be quite conservative, because whilst it would be nice to bring up the saturation in the back, the oranges are also affecting my skin color as well. And with the free version of Lightroom, I'm not able to isolate any of the components in the picture. It has to be across the board, all oranges in the picture being changed. So yeah, going to be a little bit conservative with the saturation, but I'm bringing up the luminance as well quite a bit. As you can see, adjusting the reds as well to complement the changes that I've done with the oranges. And when it comes to the yellows, for me, I usually tend to bring those all the way down when it comes to saturation, and also give it more warmth with the hue slider, bringing it closer to orange than green. And also I can either choose to bring the luminance up or down, but the reason why is because a lot of lighting ends up making the whites in your image quite yellow. So I like to bring up the luminance and make sure that what is meant to be white ends up looking more white with a little tint of yellow. It's not too bad. And as you can see in this picture, I do have some greenery. So what's important for me is to make sure that it doesn't look fake. So I want to make sure that the green in this image looks good. But as you can see, when I'm adjusting the green slider, there's not too much happening. And that's because the tree is being registered as aqua. If you can't see this straight away, you can also use the color picker tool, which allows you to just tap on a part of the image to drag this up and down. I haven't shown this in this image, but it's pretty easy to do. It pretty much just allows you to pinpoint what part of the image you want to change the hue and saturation on. But as you can see, going into the aqua now, I'm actually able to bring more green into the life of this tree because it looks a little bit sad. And this means that I probably do have a blue tint over the image, which I might want to get rid of later on, which you're going to be able to see. Typically, because I'm doing the whole orange thing, I do like the concept of teal and orange, but on my feed it's a lot less present. But I do tend to make my blues more in the teal section than purple. I don't really ever do purple nowadays. I do just drag it slightly into the realm of the teal, and then I usually bring down the saturation, as you can see here, because like I said, we've got quite a bit of a blue filter on here, so I'm going to bring that saturation right down so that we can get the minimalist effect on the pictures and also bring up the luminance. And to be honest, there's not really any purples or magentas in this picture, so that's fine, we can leave that be. And we're pretty much done with color, but there are a few extra things that we need to do outside of the color mix menu, which includes hue, saturation and temperature and tint, which is pretty interesting because like I said, we did have an issue with the blue filter. So what I can do here now, and this really comes down to you can adjust the temperature of your pictures. Now back in the days when I used to use Visco, I used to think that, yeah, hate yellow lighting, I'm just gonna make all my pictures cold and blue. I think on my Instagram I still have a few pictures up where I used to do that. It really depends on the vibe that you're going for. So there is a blue tint already on the filter, but I want to get rid of that because I'm looking for more summer vibes. As you can see with my outfit, it looks more summer. I want to make it seem like I'm in Rome or somewhere nice and hot. So what I'm just doing is adding a little bit of faux temp. That's just fake temperature, bringing that in. And for the tint, I'm actually leaning that into the green direction as well, which brings us a little bit more life to the tree that is there, like I said before, and it's a nice little balance which I think looks really good, especially matching the other pictures on my Instagram. As you can see, I've got a picture of me in a green top, and then there's a picture of me with green tea. So yeah, it looks great, I would say. And of course you want to adjust the vibrance. Vibrance is really good because unlike saturation, it doesn't boost everything up. So what I like to do is add some vibrance, take away a little bit of saturation, and I think that gives a really good effect. And to be honest here, guys, we're pretty much done. All we have to do here is go into the effects, and this is up to you. I mean, texture, it really depends on what you're going for. I usually adjust the texture and clarity in opposite directions, similar to, like I said, with the saturation and vibrance. I think it gives a nice little effect. The dehazing, I don't think there's much dehazing to be done here. If there was any, I may have taken care of it in the contrasting and lighting options, but dehaze is really good when you have one of those really washed out images that you're not looking for. As you can see me adjusting on the slider here, it's not giving me any results that I want, so I'm just going to kind of leave it be, to be honest. Vignette, I don't typically add vignettes to my pictures because on Instagram I like how they kind of all just are like flat, if that makes sense. The border around the pictures does it enough, especially when you're viewing on your profile. So yeah, I'm cool with that. And of course you always want to really sharpen up your pictures, because when you upload to Instagram, it is gonna hit with a ton of bricks when it comes to degrading. So yeah, you want to make sure you add a little bit of sharpening. Oftentimes I do go ahead and add some grain as well, but I haven't in this case. Now the main thing what you want to do here is to make sure that you create a preset, because this is going to make sure that when you're editing your new pictures, it's not going to take as much time, and you can really just take the effects of what you've done here, all the hard work, and apply it to future pictures. And this is going to be able to help you with the cohesion of your Instagram. So we create a little preset here called YouTube preset as a little test, and what I'm going to do is show you what this looks like when you're applying it to a new image. So here's an image that is freshly imported again from the same day. So what's going to happen when we add our YouTube preset to it? Is it going to look good? Is it not going to look good? Well, we're going to find out. Of course, we saved our preset, and all we have to do is just apply it. I think it brings a lot of life into the image, and it looks pretty good, right? It would definitely match the image that we just done, and straight away I think there's not much work needed to be done here. Now that's not always going to be the case, because you may have shot at a different location, different outfits, that sort of thing. So once you apply a preset, you might want to go back and edit some of the things like the lighting and even the color options to adjust it so that it's still in the same aesthetic of the preset that you've applied, but you might just have to make a few minor adjustments. And what's good here is to also save multiple presets under the same aesthetic that you're going for. So here I've got some called story filter, which I typically use when I want to upload posts to my story, which doesn't necessarily have to match the aesthetic of my Instagram. So I would say that presets are the main thing. Once you're editing your pictures, you want to just create loads of presets that look good and you know will be able to be applied to your pictures in a jiffy, especially when you're out and you're taking stories. What I like to do is to actually have a preset that I can just apply in Lightroom and add it to my story. So like here's a picture that I took in the office the other day, which I uploaded to my story. But if I add this preset that we just made, is it going to look nice as well? Yeah, it looks pretty decent. And of course what I typically want to do is of course crop it if I was uploading it to my feed rather than story, and there you go. That's it. That's how easy it is to do these things, guys. You just want to make sure you've got your presets and then you're good. I might actually upload this picture because I think it's pretty cool, to be honest. Doc Martens all the way, my guy, all the freaking way. Now, one of the key things that you might want to utilize when it comes to making sure that your feed is lovely and it all matches and is cohesive is actually the archive feature. So a lot of the time I might just want to post a picture for a while, let people respond to it because I think it looks cool, and then it might not match the feed, so I'll archive it. Or take use of stories and upload things to stories and use the highlights on your profile as a way to still have people have access to looking at your pictures that might not necessarily match the feed. Of course, you don't have to have your feed cohesive. You don't have to have it all matching. It's just something that I've taken on board, and it's, I guess, more of a challenge when it comes to uploading. I have a Finsta myself, so if there is anything that I just want to upload for the sake of it, then it goes there. This is kind of, I guess, a little bit more of a project. My profile is open, so brands might see it and come across it, etc. And it's an extension of my YouTube channel and everything else. It's kind of like a hub that people come into from TikTok and from YouTube, and they can keep up with me on Instagram right now. So yeah, that's it guys. Thank you for watching this video. Of course, if you enjoyed it, make sure to give me a thumbs up, subscribe for more videos, leave a comment down below. If you're gonna change up your Instagram, I guess make sure to follow me on Instagram as well, at josiahmcv.